They thought Earth would kneel. The Galactic Empire, a sprawling machine of control and conquest, whose fleets have darkened the skies of 1,000 worlds, made the mistake of thinking humanity was just another primitive species ripe for assimilation. They sent emissaries in gold-trimmed arrogance. They sent warships. They broadcast threats across our systems. But Earth remembered. We remembered every invasion, every treaty broken, every colony bombarded. We remembered how our people were treated. Second class, subjugated, enslaved. And for once, the governments of Earth stood as one. On May 20th, 2231, the United Terran Assembly broadcast a single, unflinching message across every frequency, in every tongue, to every sector. The Galactic Empire is hereby banned from all Terran space. Violation will be met with lethal force. This is not a negotiation. This is a declaration. They laughed at first. Then they sent a battlecruiser through Mars orbit to negotiate. It never made it past the Kuiper line. We dismantled it in 12 minutes. Because we're not the old Earth anymore. We've evolved, united, armed ourselves with tech reverse engineered from their own discarded drones. We built the Aegis line. We trained soldiers in vacuum. We made alliances they never saw coming. Even from within their own ranks, Earth isn't a vassal. Earth is a warning. And now, the stars burn with Terran fire. If that gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe for more HFY Sci-Fi, and drop a comment below. What should Earth do next in this war? And don't forget to share this story with your fellow space rebels. Let's spread the resistance. Humanity was once naive. We looked to the stars with wonder, not realizing that space was already claimed. The Galactic Empire, ancient, bureaucratic, and brutal, ruled with a velvet glove over an iron fist. For centuries, Earth was seen as a latecomer, a curious case, a planet of emotional, stubborn, unpredictable creatures with potential, but no power. So they offered us protection, trade, technology, cultural assimilation, and when we hesitated, they revealed the true face of the empire: orbital bombardments, corporate slavery, and a 100-year plan to strip Earth of sovereignty. But we adapted quietly. Behind smiles and handshakes, we decoded their systems. We hijacked their probes, cloned their AIs, forged alliances with species who'd also suffered beneath the Empire's boots. We built in the shadows, research stations in the Orc cloud, stealth fleets beneath the oceans of Europa, dark matter weapons in the asteroid belt. Then came the turning point, the Soul Rebellion. A Terran freighter intercepted a coded Imperial message. Plans to replace Earth's leadership with puppet governors. That's when everything changed. Now, Earth is no longer a divided world. From Jakarta to Johannesburg, Moscow to Mars, we speak as one. We aren't rebels. We're the rightful guardians of our solar system. And we're done playing nice. The skies above Earth were quiet, but the networks were roaring. At 0600 UTC, the United Terran Assembly activated every major communication array from Luna Station to the Mars Relay Arc. The transmission went live across all known galactic bands: Imperial, diplomatic, pirate, civilian, military, even the encrypted frequencies the Empire believed were secret. Within seconds, the message beamed outward from the Sol system, reaching hundreds of worlds within minutes, thousands within hours. The voice that spoke was synthesized, calm, clear, unmistakably human. To the Galactic Empire and all relevant parties, it began. This is an official declaration from the sovereign governments of Earth and her colonies. Effective immediately, the Galactic Empire is banned from all Terran space. Any vessel, emissary, drone, or probe found operating within Terran jurisdiction will be dismantled or destroyed without further warning. This is not a negotiation. This is a declaration. There was no preamble, no apology, no pretense of diplomacy, just cold clarity. The message repeated 3 times, in the major languages of the Empire, followed by a visual: Earth, rimmed with defensive satellites, flanked by 2 sleek warships bearing no known Imperial design. One turned its cannons and fired, not at an enemy, but into space itself. A coded blast, a signal, the start of something irreversible. Across the galaxy, the response was instant and chaotic. On the core worlds of the Empire, senators laughed. A backwater planet issuing ultimatums? Let them bark. Imperial news anchors mockingly replayed the transmission, looping it with dramatic music and sarcastic commentary. Military officials issued casual denials. There is no threat in the Sol system. Earth remains compliant. But not everyone was laughing. In the Rim colonies, where whispers of Earth's resistance had been growing, smugglers and exiles watched the message in silence. On neutral merchant stations, traders froze mid-deal. Some noticed the odd sharpness in the Terran voice, the unmistakable edge of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. On occupied planets, oppressed species passed bootleg copies of the video, hope flickering in eyes that hadn't seen it in decades. On one Imperial dreadnought near the Denari Belt, the crew watched the message as it played in the mess hall. When the screen faded to black, no one said a word, until the comms officer whispered, Did Earth just declare war? Back on Earth, The assembly ended its broadcast without fanfare. No follow-up, no clarification, because they knew the galaxy would feel it soon enough. The Terran era had begun. 3 days after Earth's declaration, the Empire sent its answer. A single Imperial Judicator-class battlecruiser, the Vengeance of Rax, emerged from slip space just beyond the orbit of Neptune. At 4.2 kilometers long, with hull plating thick enough to withstand orbital bombardments, the ship was a symbol of the Empire's crushing power, a war machine designed not just for battle, but for spectacle. It had no escort. It didn't need one. Its arrival was the Empire's way of saying, "We are not afraid." The cruiser hailed Earth, demanding compliance. The message, curt and dripping with contempt, warned of disciplinary action if the Terran Assembly did not revoke its declaration within the hour. The broadcast was sent on all channels. Earth didn't respond. They didn't have to. What the Empire didn't realize was that it had wandered into a graveyard of its own arrogance. As the Vengeance began its slow approach into Terran space, it encountered a strange phenomenon. Space around it shimmered, rippled, and then stilled. A moment later, every long-range sensor on board failed. Communication scrambled. The helmsman screamed about a gravitational spike. Then came the first strike. A lance of blue-white energy, tight, silent, and almost invisible to the naked eye, tore through the ship's forward armor and punched a molten hole straight through the command deck. No known Terran weapon could have done this. But this wasn't just Terran tech. This was hybrid. Human ingenuity fused with salvaged alien engineering, developed in secret labs beneath Europa's ice and Saturn's rings. The Aegis Line, Earth's hidden defense grid, had come online. In seconds, the Vengeance launched countermeasures, firing plasma torpedoes and deploying drones. But the drones never activated. A virus, coded in a language the Empire never thought humans would decipher, turned them into dead metal. The torpedoes were intercepted mid-flight by particle shields projected from stealth satellites no bigger than a suitcase. And then, the real Terran fleet appeared. Not massive like the Empire's behemoths, but sleek, angular, fast, like predators designed to hunt giants. From behind the shadow of Neptune, 12 Terran warships uncloaked, their hulls painted matte black with reflective dispersion alloys that rendered them nearly invisible to long-range optics. They didn't speak. They didn't announce their presence. They moved with precision and purpose. The Vengeance of Rax managed to fire one final volley, a last show of defiance. But it never found a target. In under 12 minutes, the pride of the Imperial Navy was cut into 6 pieces, its engines disabled, bridge destroyed, weapons rendered useless. Not obliterated, disabled purposefully, because Earth wanted them to know, to see. Terran forces transmitted a single message to the burning wreck. This was a warning. The next will be a memory. The Empire didn't release footage of the battle, but fragments of the destruction leaked through independent traders and hacked feeds. Words spread like wildfire. The Invincible had been humbled. The core systems denied it. The senators still scoffed. But border worlds began to whisper, Earth has teeth now, and they're not afraid to bite. They thought Earth was sleeping. They mistook our silence for submission, our slowness for weakness. But in the shadows of our solar system, beneath the frozen oceans of Europa, within the radiation storms of Jupiter, and buried deep in bunkers beneath Earth's surface, humanity was preparing, not for survival, but for something far more dangerous: resistance. The first spark came after the Treaty of Assimilation in 2194. On paper, it was a peaceful agreement. Earth would join the Empire as a protected development zone. In reality, it was a slow bleed. Corporations backed by imperial credits took over entire industries. Colonial governors were advised by imperial envoys. Orbital platforms above Earth became trade hubs under Empire control. They gave us tech, outdated, obsolete, limited, just enough to keep us dependent, not enough to grow. But humans have always been stubborn and curious. By 2202, a coalition of scientists, engineers, and military strategists formed the Terran Continuity Directive, a black project operating out of Antarctica, officially dissolved, unofficially expanded across 5 continents and 3 moons. They began reverse engineering every scrap of alien tech they could find. Debris from crashed Empire drones, scrambled transmission patterns, even bits of bioengineered fungus used in alien life support systems. Everything was studied. Nothing was wasted. The breakthrough came when a Terran mining vessel in the Kuiper Belt intercepted a distress signal from a rogue alien ship, a Valari smuggler, wounded, running from the Empire. Instead of turning it over, Earth helped quietly. The Valari captain, named Orcs, didn't just survive, he pledged loyalty. And he brought something more valuable than tech: knowledge, maps, protocols, weak points in the Empire's logistics, how their ships communicated, where their AI cores were vulnerable. From that moment on, Earth began building alliances, not with the powerful, but with the desperate outlaws, escaped slaves, smugglers, refugees, species the Empire had crushed and forgotten. The Jiraka nomads taught Terrans how to cloak energy signatures with dark radiation. The Genru Syndicate shared techniques to bypass Empire encryption. The Hadran exiles gave us living metal, self-repairing alloys that now coat every Terran warship. Each alliance was a whisper, a favor, a trade in the dead of space. The Empire never noticed. It never cared. Meanwhile, Earth played its part. We signed treaties, smiled in conferences, let them install their advisors. All the while, underground factories beneath New Delhi, Vancouver, Nairobi, and Tycho Crater were producing weapons no one had seen before. AIs taught to mimic Imperial drones, fighters with synthetic neural interfaces that reacted faster than any organic pilot, railguns powered by compressed singularities, barely stable but devastatingly effective. And the Aegis Project, Earth's planetary defense grid, was the crown jewel. Camouflaged in orbit, buried in asteroids, disguised as civilian satellites, built with hybrid tech from at least 6 alien species, tested in secret, operational before the Empire even suspected. By 2230, Earth had quietly become a fortress. So when the Empire decided to tighten its grip, to install puppet governors and dissolve Earth's sovereignty, it wasn't a death sentence. It was a trigger. The sleeping planet opened its eyes, and what it revealed wasn't fear or submission. It was precision, fury, and a cold, calculated readiness to burn everything the Empire had ever built, one star at a time. When the news of the vengeance of Rax's destruction reached the Galactic Council, it was delivered not through official channels, but through panic. The Council, a supposedly neutral body of over 300 species meant to maintain interstellar diplomacy, had long been seen as a puppet of the Empire. Many of its member races owed their seats to Imperial backing. Its votes, supposedly democratic, always seemed to align with the Empire's interests. But the footage was undeniable. Grainy, shaky, smuggled across half the galaxy on a merchant relay drone, the pride of the Imperial fleet, crippled by Terran weapons in under 12 minutes. The chamber, usually a theater of pomp and posturing, descended into stunned murmurs. The Imperial representative, a golden-skinned Nazari noble draped in ceremonial armor, tried to spin the event as an unauthorized incursion by an unstable frontier species. He demanded sanctions against Earth, declaring their attack an act of war. But his voice no longer carried the weight it once did. The room no longer listened with blind obedience. They listened with curiosity, because in the outer systems, on the dusty mining colonies, the overcrowded trade stations, the forgotten moons, Earth's name had become something more than defiance. It had become possibility. For generations, the Empire's power had gone unchallenged. Worlds complied not out of loyalty, but fear. Yet here was Earth, young, fractured, human, not just resisting, but winning. The ripple effect was immediate. The Threxan Confederacy, long neutral, suddenly delayed all trade shipments to Imperial core worlds, citing internal audits. The Alari banking syndicates, who controlled the flow of interstellar credit, began re-evaluating their debt agreements with the Empire. Even the stoic, ancient Dralith, who hadn't taken a stance on anything in 6 centuries, requested a closed-door meeting with Earth's ambassador. Behind those closed doors, messages were exchanged, offers made, old wounds reopened. Smaller species, long trampled by the Empire's bureaucracy, began speaking in hushed tones about the Terran option. Not all would ally openly, not yet. But the shift was palpable. Earth had proven the Empire could bleed. That was enough for now. Within days, Imperial diplomats noticed a change in how they were treated. The once friendly greetings had cooled. Invitations to trade talks were postponed. Security on neutral stations increased. Not against Earth, but against Imperial envoys. Worst of all, someone hacked the Empire's council access grid. For 17 minutes, every display in the chamber showed a looped message, set against a backdrop of Earth's blue oceans and steel-gray warships. We do not seek conquest, we seek freedom. If the Empire cannot allow it, it will be unmade. Choose your side wisely. The Council's silence afterward wasn't loyalty. It was fear. Fear that the future might already belong to Earth, and that the Empire, for all its might, had already started to fall. The Empire had always ruled by fear, not loyalty. Beneath the marble floors of its towering spires and beneath the gold-trimmed uniforms of its officials, cracks had been forming for decades. But those cracks were hidden, stitched together by threats, credits, and the myth of invincibility. When Earth shattered that myth, the rot spread like wildfire. At first, the rebellion was small, dismissed as isolated uprisings in remote sectors. A mining outpost on Soren Prime refused to pay its imperial taxes. A garrison on the moon of Chero mutinied and seized its own command structure. These were the usual tremors, easily ignored. But something was different this time. The rebels didn't just resist, they coordinated. They knew where to strike, when to transmit, how to avoid detection. And they had weapons the Empire didn't know they'd lost, because Earth was feeding them. Through encrypted transmissions masked as cosmic background radiation, Earth's intelligence network, the Orpheus Protocol, made contact with dissident cells within the Empire. Weapons, schematics, communications cloaking devices, even basic AI modules were smuggled in cargo containers, hidden inside standard Imperial shipments. Earth didn't need to send armies. It sent ideas, it sent tools, and most dangerously of all, it sent hope. Entire regiments of conquered species, Valari, Kolari, Urine, began deserting, taking their ships and joining hidden fleets forming in asteroid belts and nebulae. Former Imperial officers, tired of watching their own planets starve while nobles lived in orbital palaces, began defecting. Earth never confirmed its involvement. It didn't need to. The rebels knew. In the shadows of the Empire's core worlds, a whisper grew louder. Earth listens. Earth arms. Earth remembers. Desperation bred paranoia. The Empire's high command began purging its own. Trusted generals were arrested. Governors disappeared. Surveillance doubled, then tripled. But the more they tightened control, the faster the collapse accelerated. Worlds once deemed pacified erupted into chaos. The Empire responded with fire, orbital strikes, martial law, mass arrests. But each act only fueled the rebellion further. And then came the defection that shook the stars. Admiral Yethern, commander of the 2nd Imperial Armada, defected mid-mission. Her fleet, over 100 ships, vanished into slip space and reappeared weeks later guarding rebel-controlled space. In a leaked transmission, she said only, "The Empire forgot what loyalty costs." Earth reminded us. The Empire had ruled for millennia. It had erased species, rewritten histories, silenced entire planets. But now, its greatest enemy wasn't Earth's guns, it was Earth's influence. A single world, once mocked as primitive, had become the catalyst for rebellion across the stars. The Empire wasn't just losing planets, it was losing its grip on reality, and the collapse had already begun from within. The Empire, cornered and wounded, did what all empires do when the illusion of control begins to fade. It lashed out. A fleet unlike any seen in recorded galactic history materialized at the edge of the Sol system. Over 2,000 ships, from dreadnoughts to scorched world carriers, bristling with weaponry and escorted by planetary siege platforms. Entire stars had been drained to fuel the journey. The core fleets, the reserve fleets, even the dread relics from the Imperial Archive, ancient, forbidden constructs built before the Empire had a name, all surged forward with one final purpose: to erase Earth. The sky above Mars dimmed under the shadow of their arrival. Neptune's orbit cracked with gravitational stress. On Earth, the Terran assembly did not panic. They did not surrender. Instead, they enacted the final phase of a plan set in motion decades earlier, Operation Valkyrie Protocol. The counter-strike began not with ships, but with silence. Terran engineers triggered a system-wide no-wave, a quantum interference pulse designed with Gen refractal coating and Drelith phase dampeners. Instantly, 30% of the Empire's frontline ships lost all command function. AI cores froze. Crew systems desynced. Battleships meant to level continents drifted aimlessly, blind and deaf, as Earth's fleet emerged from the void. But Earth had not come alone. Out of asteroid fields and hyperspace rifts, rebel fleets surged forth. A coalition of once scattered species now united under one truth: the Empire could fall. Valari strikers, Urine solar frigates, even defected Imperial warships joined the charge. Earth had done the impossible, turned the galaxy's grief into an army. The battle raged for hours. Jupiter's magnetic field ignited in arcs of plasma as orbital weapons discharged. Earth's warships, smaller and fewer, danced between titans, striking with surgical precision. Railgun barrages shattered cruisers. Singularity mines tore through carriers. The Empire fought with fury, but they fought a war of the past. Earth fought the war of what came next. Above Saturn, the flagship of the Imperial Armada, the Sovereign's Wrath, engaged the Terran command ship Solstice. The Empire's vessel was 3 times its size, armed with neutron lances and a psychic amplifier that could drive entire crews insane. But Solstice didn't play fair. It warped, split, refracted, its hull a ripple of dimensional phasing and AI-driven evasion algorithms. The final blow came from within. A boarding team of enhanced Terran operatives, encoded with neural combat maps and equipped with anti-Imperial bioweapons, took the bridge in under 4 minutes. The moment the flagship fell, the remaining Imperial fleet hesitated, then fractured. Some fought to the death, others surrendered. Many fled into deep space, their morale shattered beyond repair. The Empire's invasion had become a funeral. When the final shot was fired, when the last Imperial dreadnought drifted cold into Saturn's rings, Earth did not gloat. No speeches were given, no celebrations were broadcast. Instead, a single message was sent across every known channel: "The war is over. You are free." In the weeks that followed, the Galactic Council reconvened, not in the Imperial capital, but in orbit around Earth. Terran representatives took their place not as conquerors, but as equals. A new alliance was born, built on shared pain, mutual defiance, and the memory of what they had all survived. The Empire, once eternal, had become a cautionary tale. And Earth, the overlooked world, the underestimated species, had changed the balance of power forever, not by ruling the stars, but by lighting the match that let them burn. In the quiet that followed the final battle, the galaxy exhaled. Where once the stars had echoed with orders barked in imperial tongues, now there was silence. The kind born not of fear, but of possibility. The great war machines drifted, derelict. Imperial banners, once hung over 1,000 worlds, were torn down by free hands. And Earth, battered but unbroken, stood not at the center of an empire, but at the edge of something new. Humanity did not crown itself victorious. There were no statues built, no monuments to conquest. Instead, Terrans walked alongside the same rebels, refugees, and allies who had once been strangers, now family, bound by fire and defiance. Earth knew better than to repeat the cycle. Power was no longer something to hoard. It was something to share, to protect. Across the stars, the story spread, of a world that was told it was small, that it could not fight, that it could not matter. A world that answered with unity, with resolve, and with brilliance. They called it the Soul Uprising, the fall of the Empire, the Dawn Fire Accord. But to those who had lived it, it would always be something simpler. The day Earth said, enough, and the galaxy listened. Now, in the ashes of the old order, a fragile peace begins to bloom. Not perfect, not guaranteed, but real. Because sometimes, it only takes one spark to light the stars, and Earth had become a beacon. The story of Earth's defiance isn't just fiction, it's a reminder. A reminder that underdogs can rise, that unity can overcome tyranny, and that even the smallest voice can ignite a revolution. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you feel something deep in your chest, don't let it end here. Like the video if you believe in resistance. Comment your favorite moment or theory. We read everyone. Share this with someone who needs to remember that even impossible odds can be broken. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more epic HFY sci-fi stories, deep dives, and lore-driven tales.